right after the story I just told you. Jesus once again addressed the Pharisees.
I am the world's light. No one who follows me stumbles around in the darkness. I provide plenty of light to live in.
The Pharisees objected.
All we have is your word on this. We need more than this to go on.
And Jesus replied,
You're right in that you have only my word, but you can depend on it being true. I know where I've come from and where I go next. You don't know where I'm from or where I'm headed. You decide according to what you can see and touch. I don't make judgments like that. But even if I did, my judgment would be true because I wouldn't make it out of the narrowness of my experience, but in the largeness of the one who sent me, the Father. That fulfills the conditions set down in God's law, that you can count on the testimony of 2 witnesses. And that is what you have. You have my word, and you have the word of the Father who sent me.
and they said,
Where is this so-called Father of yours?
You're looking right at me, and you don't see me. How do you expect to see the Father? If you knew me, you would at the same time know the Father.
He gave this speech in the treasury while teaching in the temple. No one arrested him because his time wasn't up yet. Then he went over the same ground again.
I'm leaving, and you are going to look for me. But you're missing God in this, and are headed for a dead end. There is no way that you can come with me.
The Pharisees tried to figure out what he was talking about and what he meant.
So he's going to kill himself? Is that what he means by, you can't come with me?
You're tied down to the mundane. I'm in touch with what is beyond your horizons. You live in terms of what you can see and touch. I'm living in other terms. I told you that you were missing God in all this. You're at a dead end. If you won't believe I am who I say I am, you're at the dead end of sins. You're missing God in your lives.
Just who are you anyway?
What I've said from the start. I have so many things to say that concern you, judgments to make that affect you. But if you don't accept the trustworthiness of the one who commanded my words and acts, then none of it matters. That is who you are questioning, not me, but the one who sent me.
They still didn't get it. They didn't realize that he was referring to the Father. So Jesus tried again.
When you raise up the Son of Man, then you will know who I am, that I'm not making this up, but speaking only what the Father has taught me. The one who sent me stays with me. He doesn't abandon me. He sees how much joy I take in pleasing him.
When he put it in these terms, many people decided to believe. Then Jesus turned to the Pharisees who had claimed to believe in him.
If you stick with this, living out what I tell you, you are my disciples for sure. Then you will experience for yourselves the truth, and the truth will set you free.
They were surprised. They said,
But we're descendants of Abraham. We've never been slaves to anyone. How can you say the truth will free you?
I tell you most solemnly that anyone who chooses a life of sin is trapped in a dead-end life and is in fact a slave. A slave is a transient who can't come and go at will. The son, though, has an established position, the run of the house. So if the Son sets you free, then you are free through and through. I know that you are Abraham's descendants, but I also know that you are trying to kill me because my message hasn't yet penetrated your heart and mind. I'm talking about things that I have seen while keeping company with the Father, and you just go on doing what you have heard from your earthly father.
they were indignant.
Our father is Abraham.
If you were Abraham's children, then you would have been doing the things that Abraham did. And yet here you are trying to kill me. A man who has spoken to you the truth he got straight from God. Abraham never did that sort of thing. You persist in repeating the words of your earthly fathers.
We are not illegitimate. We have a legitimate father, the one and only God.
If God were your father, you would love me, for I came down from God and arrived here. I didn't come on my own. He sent me. Why can't you understand what I say? Here's why. You can't handle it. You're from your father, the devil, and all you want to do is please him. He was a killer from the very start. He couldn't stand the truth because there wasn't a shred of truth in him. When the liar speaks, he makes it up out of his lying nature and fills the world with his lies. I arrive on the scene to tell you the plain truth, and you refuse to have a thing to do with me. Can any one of you convict me of a single misleading word, a single sinful act? If I'm telling the truth, why don't you believe me? Anyone on God's side listens to God's words. That is why you're not listening, because you're not on God's side.
That clinches it. We were right all along when we called you a Samaritan and said you were crazy, demon-possessed.
I am not crazy. I simply honor my Father, while you dishonor me. I am not trying to get anything for myself. God intends something gloriously grand here, and is making the decisions that will bring it about. I say this with absolute confidence. If you practice what I'm telling you, you will never have to look death in the face.
Now we know you're crazy. Abraham died, the prophets died, and you show up saying, if you practice what I'm telling you, you'll never have to face death, not even a taste. Are you greater than Abraham who died, and the prophets who died? Who do you think you are?
If I turn the spotlight on myself, then it wouldn't amount to anything. But my Father, the same one who you say is your Father, put me here at this time and place of splendor. You haven't recognized him in this, but I have. If I, in false modesty, said that I didn't know what was going on, I would be as much of a liar as you are. But I do know, and I am doing what he says. Abraham, your father, with jubilant faith, looked down at the corridors of history and saw my day coming. He saw it and he cheered.
You're not even 50 years old, and Abraham saw you?
Believe me, I am who I am long before Abraham was anything.
That did it. It pushed the Pharisees over the edge. They picked up rocks to throw at Jesus, but Jesus slipped away, getting out of the temple.